I want to show you guys how to build a Skaven army that heavily counters flying units. You might be thinking, well yeah, you just throw down Howling Warp Gal. And yes, you do, but I want to show you how to get the most out of this spell. You're only going to overcast it, because when you do, it stuns air units for 28 seconds, while the cooldown is only 30 seconds, meaning if you have two casters using it back to back, they can keep air units stunned in place for an entire battle, or for as long as you have Winds of Magic. So for your Lord, you'll choose between Ikit Claw and the Warlock Master. The Warlock Master is better for early game Winds of Magic, because Arcane Conduit is constant, and you can use the Wand of Jet. But Ikit and his unlimited power is better for late game because it gives you Winds of Magic reserves. But did you know this ability has a 50% chance to miscast? It's pretty fitting, but it does some damage to him, so for that reason I stick with the Warlock Master. You're going to give him the Warp Gale, Arcane Conduit, and the Wand of Jet, but you can also give him Warp Lightning, Cleansing Ruin, and Brass Orb for more damage. And consider putting him on a mount, because then if you miscast, you won't be staggered. And that's a reason you might want to choose Ikit, because his mounts are actually a lot cheaper, probably due to the fact that he invented them. And whichever Lord you choose, make sure to also bring a Warlock Engineer who can cast Howling Warp Gal. Now I want to show you what it looks like when you stun an air unit for an entire battle. Keep your eyes on this high elf Archmage and you'll see that she's pretty much stuck in one place. Yes, she can cast spells, but she's taking a lot of fire from these range units. I like to bring the Regiment of Renowned Jezzails and Rattling Guns. The Jezzails always have stock, they're always hidden, and the Rattling Guns can give themselves stock with the Concealment Bombs. And I like these units to be hidden because then they're not targets for artillery, and you can launch sneak attacks. Throw down a Warp Gale on your enemy's important units, these guns come out of nowhere, and it can be pretty morale breaking. They might even surrender. Now back to the Archmage, she was a victim of being shot to death while caught in the Warp Gale, but while your enemy's stuck in the air, you can also cast Cleansing Ruin on them, and it's great because then they can't get out of it. Overcast preferred. And if the situation calls for it, you can actually use Warp Lightning on an entity that's caught in the Warp Gale. It can be useful for finishing off units that are close to death. You can cast it with one or both of your lords at the same time. You can overcast it, depending on how much Winds of Magic you want to use. All you have to do is aim it over the red selection marker of your enemy, and it should hit the target, even if it's a small one like Malagor here. And it's a lot of Winds of Magic to invest, but it can deal some pretty good shock damage, pun intended. So it's nice to be able to snare enemy lords, but this spell is also a great defensive tool. Here are two flanking Pterodons, and there's a Howling Warp Gal for each one of them, as the ranged units take them out. That's a clean scenario, but it can get messier than that. Here are a bunch of flying, swarming melee units. If this is the case, you want to cast the Warp Gal right over your ranged units, so that when they dive you, they'll be stunned instantly. You'll have time to reposition or try to take them out. So at this point, the main units I've brought cost almost half the funds, but I'm actually going to add on the Warp Grinders too. I'm going to show you why I think it's worth it. Once the enemy flyers get past your defenses and the Howling Warp Gals, and they land on the ground, they can then be stunned by the Warp Grinders with the Seismic Snare and damaged by the Warp Quake, so you have the air and ground defended. So that's my army core, the Master, Engineer, 2 Regiment of Renowned range units, and the Warp Grinders. Add to this however you see fit. There's actually one more thing I wanted to show you guys. Did you know that if you are controlling a Cathay Dragon and you get caught by a Howling Warp Gal, you can actually get out of the snare by shapeshifting into your human form. Once you land on the ground, you no longer count as a flying unit, so you can walk freely. Well, I hope you'll have fun out there trying out some anti-air Skaven tactics, and thank you for watching.